when you're young, you have everything. You have abundance of energy, abundance of NAD, abundance of the amino acids, in most cases if you have a healthy diet. And by the way, just to let you know, our body has the capacity to produce glutathione for the rest of its life. So just want to make sure if you're 100 years old and if you're still listening to this podcast, rest assured your body's still making glutathione for you today.
I get a lot of IV infusions. Like I've had several hundred IV infusions. Yeah, a lot. And a lot of those I've had a glutathione push. And my skin has always looked so incredible for like a few days after the glutathione push. But now I'm wondering is if you're saying that, it breaks down super quickly and it's really the cysteine that's doing it, am I wasting my money on this glutathione push?
The short answer is...
So I don't think a day goes by where we don't receive a request to be on the podcast. And when I got this request for our next guest to be on, it was like an immediate yes. I didn't need to think any further. I wasn't doing any additional research because just the topic alone, before I even knew, more about his background and the research he's done, just the topic alone was something both Cris and I were really, really excited to talk about. And we're dedicating the entire episode to my favorite antioxidant, which is glutathione. And I think this is going to be such an eye-opening episode for so many people because it's going to give you some additional insight into the inner workings of your body and how we can be supporting the natural production of different antioxidants in our body for optimal health. And we can be doing this for overall wellness. We can be doing this for skincare. And I think this is really the perfect podcast to do this on because we're about both that, wellness and skincare. So I would love to welcome on our next guest, Dr. Nayan Patel. He is a renowned pharmacist, health consultant, founder of Aura Wellness, and he has truly dedicated his entire career to helping people live healthier, longer lives by focusing on, like I said, my favorite antioxidant, glutathione, which is really the body's master antioxidant. You've probably heard Cris and I talk about it several times on the podcast over the years. And for the last 2 decades, Dr. Patel has been working really, really closely with physicians to create custom medications, personalized nutrition plans, and his expertise is trusted from not just, CEOs and physicians, but all the way up to celebrities as well. And he's also the author of a really incredible book, The Glutathione Revolution, Fight Disease, Slow Aging, and Increase Energy. This is a must-read book that if you're a reader, add it to your cart now. So Dr. Patel, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure to be here today. Thank you for inviting.
Oh, like I said, this was an auto yes for us because we talk about glutathione, antioxidants, all these different ways to support the body. So let's just kind of start with the foundation. For somebody that has no idea what glutathione is, they're like, I've maybe heard about it on Instagram. Maybe my naturopath talked about it. What is it? Like, what truly is glutathione and why is it called the master antioxidant?
Absolutely. So I'm going to give you 2 answers for that one. The first answer is a nerdy answer. Glutathione is a tripeptide made up of 3 amino acids. It's the most abundant chemical produced in the human body. Again, that's a nerdy answer. Now, the real answer is that nobody wants to know what glutathione is. What people really want to know is, why are we talking about this today? Why is it so important to me today? So the why about the glutathione is that it's the most abundant peptide produced in the human body. It's considered a master antioxidant because if you look at the oxidative stress or the oxidation that happens inside your body, the body has 3 ways to get rid of it. Okay? The first way is you take something like vitamin C, vitamin E, CoQ10, all the products from outside sources. Then there's those algae extracts and C60s and methylene blues. And the list can literally go on and on for a long time. So that's one category. That's category number 1. The category number 2 is your body produces 3 enzymes to deal with it. Superoxide dismutase, SOD for short, glutathione peroxidase, GPX for short, and catalase. Okay? So that's the enzyme that the body produces internally. And the third thing the body produces is glutathione. And let me put it this way. If you combine the category 1, which is all the outside sources, combine that with the category 2, which is all the enzymes the body produces, those 2 combined, glutathione works far, far more better than both of them combined in terms of the antioxidant effects. That's the reason why it's called the master antioxidant. We don't give the master designation to anybody who is just a little better than you are. It's given to somebody who is way, way better than you are, right? So that's why it's called master antioxidant. And if you're a listener and if you do not know what glutathione is, I strongly suggest just to put your favorite search engine, and give me 10 benefits of glutathione, and you're going to go, your jaw's going to drop, your eyes going to, the bar's going to go up. I said, oh my God. So
Yeah, they're like, I need this.
Thanks for asking this question. Thank you.
Well, I'm actually curious because I know Cris wants to delve into glutathione deficiency. She was like, I need to talk about this. It's her favorite. But before we do that, I would really love, could you also explain maybe the benefits of glutathione for those suffering with acne, for those suffering with skin issues, and its ability to reduce that oxidative stress?
Absolutely. So, I mean, acne, the word itself, acne, is acne vulgaris, which is the name of a bacteria that causes the blemishes or the breakouts. That's true for young kids, right? But if you're an adult, if you're over the age of 25, 27, 30, more than likely you don't have bacteria on your skin. I hope not, because you're using proper precautions. Your hand hygiene are much, much better. So the reason for acne is basically inflammation, right? So the inflammations can be coming from, my God, there's so many sources of inflammation. There's tons and tons of sources of inflammation. And so my job is to try to figure out, hey, is the cause of inflammation, that's the reason of acne? And if the answer is yes, we can help with inflammation. But that's not the only cause of inflammation is because of lack of glutathione, right? Inflammation could be caused because of overexposure toxicities. How about heavy metal toxicities, exposure to pollution? Low on zinc, low on magnesium can cause that part too. Again, we want to button everything against glutathione, but keep in mind there's a whole area of things that you have to do to make sure the inflammation comes down. And the biggest thing you can do for yourself is to have a proper diet. Having a nutritionist on your back pocket and working with them to get a diet that's suitable for you is by far the best thing that I do. I tell all my clients. I do nutrition. I don't see patients anymore, unfortunately, but I do help my doctors and my clients to help them with the nutrition needs so that they can help their patients as well. And then going back to glutathione, we done one human trial. This was about 2 years ago. We did a human trial. And what we showed is within 4 hours, we saw a reduction of inflammation or oxidative stress, which is the MDA markers, melanaldehyde levels. And it was corresponding to that, what we saw was the increase of all the immune response, the interleukin-2, the interleukin-12, TNF-alpha, interferon gamma. These are all the cytokines that's supposed to increase when you have a threat against your body. And we have shown that in a human trial that within 4 to 6 hours, you can see the increase in these levels of immune markers, reduction of oxidative stress. And so, yes, glutathione can help with adult acne. Of course, it helps with the kids' acne too. My daughter's 60 years old, and if she has a bacteria in her skin that's all pussy, puts a glutathione, and the next morning she's back to normal. But that's not what we're talking about right now. I hope that's what we're talking about. That's an easy fix.
Mm-hmm. And I really love that, you brought up that oxidative stress component, because not only is the oxidative stress contributing to acne, but it's also contributing to dull skin, premature aging. And for our listeners, they're like that millennial mom where they're like, not only do I have acne, but I have fine lines. Like, this is some cruel, sick joke that we have going on. And really what we need to be looking at is how can we further reduce that oxidative stress? And that's what the antioxidants do. They fight those free radicals that promote the oxidative stress.
Absolutely. Oxidative stress is something that I've been working a lot with my doctors. Because if you think about it, and you can just put down top 10 causes of death in the world, top 10. One of them is accidents. So let's get rid of it, right? If you die in a plane crash, I'm sorry, there's no pills for that one, right? So that's not the reason. The other 9 causes of death in the world, all of them are linked to oxidative stress. Talking about cancers, heart disease, metabolic disorders, autoimmune conditions, all of them have been linked to oxidative stress. And so depending on where the stress starts, right? If the oxidative stress starts, and if it's acute, you may get a shingles infection, for example. That's an acute phase. The chronic 20 years of oxidative stress can lead to memory loss, can lead to Alzheimer's. 30 years of oxidative stress in a row can lead to Parkinson's and ALS and Huntington's disease. So it's not a short-term thing, okay? But here's the thing. If you use glutathione to reduce oxidative stress down, yes, you can stop the stress down today. Is it going to reverse all the diseases? Think about it, right? I talk to all the doctors all the time. I said, hey, so let's say you go to your house, you leave the door open, the wind gushes in, and all the debris, the snow, the leaves, the sand, everything comes inside your house. So what you do, you take the vacuum or the broom and start sweeping. And guess what? It keeps on blowing up again. Then you realize that, oh my God, I got to close the door first. Then you close the door first, and then you start sweeping again, then the house gets clean. But if you do not close the door, no matter how much you sweep your house, it's always going to be dirty again. And if you think about the medicine that we have in the world today, all we are doing is constantly sweeping and vacuuming, but nobody's closing the door. And that's the reason why glutathione is such a profound arsenal in every human being on this planet. You got to close the door in order for your body to heal. And so I'm urging everybody. Now, skin is the largest organ. It's something that it's the only organ you can see with your own eyes. And if you can see it, you can make a change, right? So I love the skin because skin does not lie to you. It's like the mirror. If you don't like what you see in the mirror, are you going to blame the mirror or yourself? If you don't like your skin, are you going to blame yourself or the body? I said, oh my God, my body's so bad. No, you got to blame yourself. I said, what am I doing that my skin is so bad, right? And so skin is a reflection of every single thing that's happening inside your body. If you see a spot on your skin, on your face, people say, oh, that's a liver spot. I said, well, no, it's stemming from the liver. Your liver is probably toxic, and that's why it's showing up in your face. But the skin is just a reflection of what's happening inside your body, right? So yeah. I hope I can clear it up.
That I think Dr. Patel, you might be our new best friend. So everything you just said, Cris and I were just over here nodding. Yep, yes. So Cris, I stole Dr. Patel for the first kind of chunk of this podcast. I'm going to let you jump in now.
Knowing that glutathione is the master antioxidant. So if our body can make glutathione, what are some things that happen to give us the sign? Because you're like, oh, this is a liver spot, or, we're talking aging, or whatever it is we're talking. What do we want to look at when it comes to those symptoms of glutathione when it's more in the deficient stage? Because if the body can make it, the body cannot make this beauty if it has all of the snow and the debris that Dr. Patel was talking about, right? Okay, so let's talk about the deficiencies. Outside of acne, what are the small, subtle things that people won't even notice that could be a glutathione or an antioxidant or a disconnect deficiency?
So to answer the question, I'm going to go back to science again first. We have to understand what it takes to make glutathione. Once we know that part, we can work on, if you don't have any of those substances, then there's a deficiency that kicks in. And if the deficiency kicks in, how soon can we notice it? What are the signs and symptoms? And is it too late by the time we find out that you have deficiency? So I'm going to answer all those questions into like one summary, right? So first of all, to make glutathione, we need 3 amino acids: glutamine, glycine, and cysteine. 3 amino acids coming together. These 3 are not essential amino. There are 8 essential amino acids that our body needs to function to build the whole body from inside out. These 3 are not one of the essential amino acids, which is a good thing, because that means the body, you're not fighting for those amino acids to build muscle fiber, for example, right? Those 2 amino acids, to combine those 2 amino acids, you need 2 enzymes. You need 2 molecules of ATP, which is the mitochondrial energy. So without the energy, you cannot produce glutathione. You need 1 molecule of NAD for electron transfer. I mean, if you have 10 molecules of NAD, it's not going to make any difference. 1 is all you need. And then you need a catalyst like selenium to make this whole process go faster, right? It's like having your mom telling you, say, work faster, kid. That's a catalyst, right? That's why I call the mom as a catalyst. But in this case, we have selenium as a catalyst. So when you're young, you have everything. You have abundance of energy, abundance of NAD, abundance of the amino acids. In most cases, if you have a healthy diet, if you're eating chips and salsas and junk food, then you may not get everything you need. But then the enzymes, the body produces enough enzymes. And by the way, just to let you know, our body has the capacity to produce glutathione for the rest of its life. So just want to make sure, if you're 100 years old, if you're still listening to this podcast, rest assured your body's still making glutathione for you today. Okay? So you have the ability to do so. The ability, unfortunately, starts decreasing for 3 reasons. One is your diet is not appropriate and you have lack of those amino acids, mainly cysteine. So if I were you, the first thing, it's the easiest thing to do is put your favorite search engine or your AI robot, ask the robot, hey, give me a choice of cysteine-rich foods, and it gets you're going to get the list of all cysteine-rich foods. If you're vegan, vegetarian, carnivore, omnivore, paleo, I don't know.
All of them. Anyone.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
You get your choices. Pick your choices. Eat them every single day. Right? Enzymes. The body's going to produce the enzymes, and as you age, starting about the age of 30, 35-ish, the level of enzymes drops a little bit. Nothing significant. Is body can still produce it, but the levels will drop a little bit. A lot of people use a lot of mitochondrial energy, ATP energy, and the mitochondrial energy is a scarcity item sometimes. And so if you have lack of energy, all of a sudden, you're not producing enough glutathione. And if you think about it, at what age do you think people says, you know what, I'm a little tired? And they'll blame, oh, I just got married, or I just had a kid, or this new job, or I just starting a family right now. I just got a new house and I have so many things to do. I have so many things on my plate. They blame the environmental factors to the lack of energy around the age of 30, right? That's the first onset, as I have seen, of where the glutathione levels is actually declining for what your needs are going to be. Your needs are a little higher than what your body can produce. Not enough to give you any symptoms or problems at this time, but just enough to tell you that there's a deficiency. And when there's a deficiency, what happens is that eventually this thing the deficiency gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And the gap from what the body needs and what your body can produce gets wider. And after a few years is when you start seeing some symptoms of glutathione deficiency. Mainly, the first thing we need to notice is fatigue, tiredness. We see recent loss of memory, because when when your body is tired, you can't think. Keep in mind, your brain consumes 20% of all the oxygen that you breathe in, even though it's only 2% of the whole body weight that needs to be neutralized, right? So the short answer is you do not know that you have glutathione deficiency for at least 10 plus years. And that's a scary part, right? If you get an acne, yes, okay, fine. I may have a little bit of issue, but maybe it's not glutathione deficiency. Maybe it's your diet is an issue. Who knows, right? Acne is not a glutathione deficiency problem. It's not a symptom of that. It could lead to it, but it's not a symptom of that part, right? And so I tell everybody that if you're waiting for the signs and symptoms to tell you that you're low, right? Then it's too late sometimes, because the onset of the disease starts whether you like it or not, right? And as I said, if you're going to get Parkinson's in 20, 30 years from now, it started at the age of 30 when you're low glutathione levels to begin with, and I'll start having this chain reaction after reaction inside your body is getting all these problems. And by the time it surfaces on your skin, it's at least 10, 15 years later. Acne is an easy one because it's just inflammation just pops up right away. So, oh my God, what did you eat yesterday? That's an easy one, right? But some of the spots, some of the growth on your skin, that happens over time. And so I tell people, you can wait and see if I have a problem or not, or you can assume that you're going to have an issue if you don't have a healthier lifestyle, if you're living in this modern day society that you're not willing to give up plastics and cell phones and pollutions and sunlights and chemicals that you expose to on a daily basis. You have glutathione deficiency to begin with, starting at the age of 30 or 35. So do something about it.
The time is now to do it.
Time is now.
And just remember, no symptoms doesn't mean that there is nothing going on, right? Sometimes it could take us a decade to figure out, oh my gosh, those were symptoms, because in Western philosophy, we normalize constipation. Go take Miralax. We normalize acne. Here's a retinol, whatever it is. Everything we go to the doctor, and as a pharmacist, right, there is something to quote unquote treat. I don't know, but in Canada and Ontario, I don't know, was it a year ago, Katie, 2 years ago? Pharmacists were allowed to make medical decisions without a patient going to the doctor on a certain amount of classifications because they were just imploding medical services. Imagine me coming to you and I'm like, I have acne, treat me. And you're like, okay. Did you have any medical training? Do you have pharmacy? Yes, for sure. However, above and beyond, right? Imagine I came to you, I have acne, and you're like, here, take glutathione. They're going to like, oh my gosh, we can't go back to this pharmacy. What crackery is he saying, right? So it's this. So by the time it's just like an autoimmune. By the time you have an autoimmune, you've had it for a decade or two, except your body was resilient. We're young, we're resilient, we get bounced back. Glutathione is part of that process. And I truly believe nobody's body wants to poo-poo on them. The body is resilient and it wants to show up every day, right? Even water, would you not say the electron transport requires water? And how many people are chronically dehydrated to even core front glutathione?
Yeah, we started the whole revolution on intravenous nutrient therapy 25 years ago. And when we first introduced this whole IV therapies, people look at me and said, why? I said, you know what? Most people don't drink water. I said, there's sugary drinks and coffees and teas and liquids. Yes, I understand they drink a lot of liquids, but then all liquids are not water, right? And so we started the IV nutrient therapy 25 years ago. Now it's exploding like crazy. It's because people are dehydrated the whole time. Telling you about the decades of problems before you see the symptoms, it's true even for cancer. If they see on your mammogram a dot of breast cancer, that was growing for over 10 years. Just a dot. Like if you take a pencil or a pen and just put a dot on the paper, that small dot, if it's cancerous, it took us at least 7 to 10 years to grow, right? So, and by the time they find out there's a dot, oh my goodness, right? If there is a way to tell you that, hey, if I can reduce oxidative stress and I can prevent from body to breaking down, and you start at the age of 30, oh my God, I would have done it in a heartbeat, right? But at the same time, I want to show you that, and I'll tell you a story about my father at the end, is that no matter what age you are, the body can heal. The body can heal. And so that I'll say the story for the last thing because it's very inspiring for me. But I wanted people to understand, but I want people to leave with the hope that, hey, if you're 25 or 30, you think you're invincible today. If you're 85, you're waiting for somebody to come pick you up, right? And I want to make sure that even at the age of 85, that you are thriving and living your life and not just waiting to be picked up.
I think that's such a refreshing perspective, especially from a pharmacist, Dr. Patel, because we see in our culture so many of these seniors, they're 85, 90, and they're on a list of medications. They're taking medications for their medications, the side effects. And we've kind of just accepted that as we age, we're meant to feel like crap. We're meant to be on a laundry list of medications. But then when you look at these cultures around the world, like the blue zones, where you have people living well into their centenarian years, not taking this laundry list of medications, I think just hearing that from a pharmacist that you can age well without having to, wait for somebody to pick you up can happen.
True. And that's the reason I started this career in glutathione about 30 years ago, because when I first graduated from pharmacy school, I had all this knowledge about drugs, and I thought I was going to save my patients and help them get a better place. Very quickly, I realized once I started practicing, because in school, you're idealistic, that you're going to change the world, right? You're very idealistic. When in the real world, they put you in the place. I said, no, your job is to manage people's problem, because no drugs are actually going to solve anybody's problem. And that to me was a big aha moment. So what? I said, yeah, the drugs are there to manage people's problem. They're not to cure anything. I said, wait a second. I spent all this life to try to figure out help people, and all I'm doing is managing people's problem. How do people get better? I said, they don't. They just live with it. And to me, that was not a good deal. That's why I figured out about this house, the doors and cleaning up. I said, oh my God, I got to close the door first. I cannot clean up the house from inside if the doors are closed. And that's when I figured out what can close the door. And that door closing happens with glutathione. There's no other product in the planet that can do it for us. The body has it, plenty of it. So do whatever it takes. Increase your mitochondrial energy. Consume all those amino acids. Make sure your body can produce enough enzymes. Eat selenium. Well, selenium comes from Brazil nuts. Eat 2 to 4 Brazil nuts every single day. I mean, your body can produce glutathione for the rest of your life. And to me, that was a big aha moment for me.
I love that for you. You had that aha moment where you're like, wait, this is unacceptable. I got into this field to help people. I want people to feel better. I don't want to just manage their symptoms. So I love that gave you that light bulb moment, and you started doing this work well before this was the cool, like, normal thing to be doing, right? There was no Instagram and social media and things that were like, oh no, we all live this healthy life. You were really at that forefront. And I'm sure you've had colleagues that thought you were like crazy. They're like, what do you mean you're going after glutathione? Why don't you just prescribe them this drug?
Well, Katie and Cris, I can tell you, I don't have any of my old friends anymore, because as time grew, people thought I was nutty and crazier. So I couldn't keep up with them. They couldn't keep up with me. So I have very few friends for that reason. But you know what? You don't need too many friends. What you need is too many people that you can look up to, so you can keep on doing the work that you're supposed to be doing to help the mankind, right?
So I would love for, the audience listening, though, could you just share what causes the body to have that deficiency in glutathione? Like, what is impacting the body's ability to make it?
Oh my gosh. So there's two things, right? The first of the lack of ATP. So as we age, now they're saying that we know how long you'll live based on how much mitochondria you have in your body. And the mitochondria is the powerhouse to basically how much energy you have inside your body, because it gives the fuel for every chemical reaction inside your body. It's a fuel. If you have no gas in the car, how far the car going to go? You know exactly how far the car is going to go. Nowhere, right? As soon as the gas is empty, you're dead, pretty much. That's what they're saying. So yeah, having ATP energy is a key. But for me, I always look at what depletes glutathione level. So there are diseases, there are also diseases. So the diseases happens because of low glutathione levels to begin with. And once you have a disease, it even uses up more glutathione levels. So it's like a double whammy, right? So that's the bad part. But what gets to disease states is basically our environment right now. Our environment is, everybody talks about, how much pollution we have in the environment. But guess what? Who's responsible for that? We are. If it was just an animal kingdom over here, it was just a jungle, guess what? We have no buildings. If you look at any animals, they eat whatever's out there. They poop it out, stays right there. They have no clothes. They just wander around. They're not creating all this extra stuff inside the environment that's killing us eventually, right? So human beings are building stuff all over. They're traveling, they're doing things, they're doing every single thing. Everything has a cost to it. I'm not saying that, hey, stop living your life. All I'm saying is that that's what's causing us with all the oxidative stress, pollution. By the way, by the time you leave your house in the morning, in the first couple of hours, maybe less than an hour sometimes, you're exposing yourself to at least 70 different chemicals. Look at your shampoos, look at your face creams, look at your makeups, look at your soaps and every single thing. There's so much chemicals there that your body is exposed to. This is even before you leave the house. And then, of course, you're running late. So in your car, you're doing your makeup and all those things in your car. So by the time you reach the office, there's another 10, 15 different chemicals you just put on your face again, right? So we are living in this society where we have been judged by the way we are. And to reduce our judgments, we behave a certain way and we expose ourselves to all these toxicities, right? Pollution in the environment, the sun, the ozone layer is depleting. So that is the filter for the sun coming to us with the filtered rays is diminishing once in a while. So that's excess ultraviolet light exposure can cause oxidative stress. And the last thing is that the diet we eat has so much junk in there, and then the body has to process it. The oils, the seed oils that we consume is embedded into our essential fatty acid systems that helps repair and build up DNAs. And so now the body has to process all those things. The chemical reactions is also producing more and more oxidative stress. And so this double whammy. Our needs for glutathione has skyrocketed because of the exposure to the environment. And the exposure to the environment, we cannot stop it. So we are in the sea of a society where, unfortunately, we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice but to figure out a way how to reduce the exposure as much as possible and improve every systems in the body to increase the glutathione levels.
People always ask us, what's the root cause of my acne? What's the root cause of my acne? And I always say it's stress. And they say, well, what do I do about my stress? And I said, well, you're already isolating it to be stress and compound of what you're thinking. I said, what about the stress of the traumas, the toxins? So when we look at the stress load, we need to boost glutathione as we work to reduce the overall stress impacts in life, right? And that's hard because we're habitual, aren't we? For the same people that are going through the Chick-fil-A are the same people that are like, I want this glutathione. No, it's not a pharmaceutical, right? So stop the trend. There's the pattern break. But let's talk about glutathione and how do we prevent that chronic stress, right? Because to me, so stress equals inflammation. Inflammation equals signs and symptoms. And signs and symptoms, we're going to get disease, disorder, and illness. So that's like my philosophy in life. How we can start to prevent this chronic disease pathway through the use of boosting glutathione. You talked a little bit about diet, talk a little bit about Brazil nuts, like that's cofactors, but what are the big nuggets in here that we need to take home?
So again, we already talked about the big nuggets, but I'll just rephrase one more time. The big nuggets are making sure your diet has the cysteine-rich diet. Catalyst, you need selenium, Brazil nuts as catalyst. I mean, there's other ways to get selenium, but I like Brazil nuts because Brazil nuts have both selenium as well as glutathione peroxidase enzymes. So it's an amazing way to get enzymes as well as a catalyst into one nut. So that I like that one better. And the last thing is to reduce your exposure to toxic chemicals and pollutions and things like that. So reduce your needs, increase your production. That's the only way you can get above the water. And again, 140 years we have known about glutathione, but until today, we never figured out how to get inside your body. And so I hope we can talk about that one next, because that's the most important part. Is now we know, okay, if I need glutathione, can I just get anything out in the market today? And the answer is absolutely not.
No, please don't do that.
That's like, what's that dance show where we all have the X's?
Oh yeah, that's a no.
It's a singing show or something like that. We're like all the X's. And we're like, no,
don't do that.
So bring us into that realm. Yeah.
Well, my research started basically, so as a peptide, so keep in mind, 25 years ago, nobody knew what peptide therapy was. Nobody knew. Today, peptide therapy is like, oh my God, give me some peptides. I want peptides for my weight loss. I want peptides for my acne. I want peptides for my hair growth. There's peptides for every single thing now today. But 25 years ago, when I told that I'm working on a peptide therapy, I said, what is that? I'm working on glutathione. I said, okay, glutathione is okay. But nobody knew about peptide therapy. The peptides are very, very hard to get inside your body. In fact, it is impossible to get any peptide that are produced internally inside your body to be replaced by outside sources. Let me repeat one more time. It's impossible to replace your internal body's peptides from taking from outside sources, period. Okay? So I don't care if you inject it, you take it by mouth, you can take a suppository, you can inhale it. I don't care what you do, right? The body has to make all his peptides internally. You cannot take it from outside sources. So then I said, okay, now what? Right? I need this thing. Now what? So I'm sure there has to be a way to figure out some sort of technology. So back 25 years ago, there was a technology called liposome technology. So liposomes are great systems. So the doctors that hold the patent on liposome technology, rest his heart, his soul, he's passed away now. But he came to me. I said, hey, Nayan, can you help me make this product? Because he was making drugs with it for FDA-approved drugs, but nothing for the vitamins. I said, hey, can you make me some vitamins with this thing? I want to make some CoQ10 and vitamin C and things like that. I said, what about glutathione? I said, oh, sure, we make glutathione too. I don't care. Make whatever you want, right? So we did that part. And about 2 years later, we found out that all the people that were using the product would not get the results. And I said, wait a second. I said, why not get the results? They get the results on the vitamin C, the CoQ10, all those things. They're getting results with that, but not with glutathione. I said, oh, there has to be a way. Why is the glutathione not working? It works on some people, not on everybody. Okay. So I had some theories which was not right, which was absolutely bogus, but that's okay. It was my theory. So I said, you know what? I will start making IVs. That was the reason I started doing the IV therapies in 2001, right? I said, you know what? Let's do IVs. And then my goal was to make glutathione IV. So we did. We worked with some of the doctors, and of course the doctors right away said, oh, if this thing can help with alcohol detox, I'll take it to Vegas. And so we started the movement back in 2001, 2002 on doing IV therapies in Vegas post-drinking. I said, wow, my God, doc, you're just crazy. But he made a lot of money doing so. But anyway, that was his thing. It wasn't my thing. My job was to make glutathione. What we found out was, yes, it helped short-term, like for 5 or 15 minutes, but nobody saw any results past that. And so then I started looking at research, and I found out the research that, oh my God, there was a research in 1991 that glutathione given even with the intravenous push, body was breaking it down into amino acids. 90 minutes later, they saw a rise of amino acid was cysteine, but no rise in glutathione. And so that's when I realized that it does work temporarily for 5 or 15 minutes, and then after hour and a half, the levels of cysteine goes up. Cysteine is later used to produce glutathione. So about 3 to 6 hours later, they saw a rise of glutathione levels. Not because the body absorbed the glutathione, but the body used the cysteine to make its own glutathione. And that's when I said, okay, wait a second. Now, going back to research again, FDA must have done some work, and I found out. I didn't work in the hospital setting. I was in a community setting, so I never knew about the medication that FDA approved, which is one N-acetylcysteine, to make glutathione. It was approved in the 60s. Is used in the hospital settings for people that have Tylenol overdose and to break the mucus inside your lungs. I said, I'll be darned. So FDA has approved a product which is an amino acid only. My biggest issue was even that drug did not work on everybody, right? Today, I know that there are some people, the subset of people, they have a gene mutation where they cannot take the N-acetylcysteine and conjugate them, produce their own glutathione. Now that we know that part today, that was one of the reasons why it was not working 25 years ago in some of the patients. So I knew something was wrong. I had to create something to get this inside the body. So there where my research started, I said, okay, I need to figure this thing out. First of all, any glutathione that goes by mouth or through the veins is going to get broken down. Only option I had left was skin. I said, okay, if skin is a physical barrier, right? You cannot find the skin and assume it's just going to go in. It's a physical barrier, right? All the pores are so tightly knit, and the chemical barrier is a lipid. So you can bypass the skin and go through the skin if it's something in an oil base because it's a passive diffusion. But it's going to take forever to get through the skin. So I said, no, that's not going to work. So what I did for the glutathione was I reduced the particle size. I squeezed the molecule, rotated the molecule, reduced the particle size so that particle size was small enough to get through your skin. Aha, I got it done. Well, the second issue was the cell itself. The cell itself is a chemical barrier. Nothing gets inside your cell until you say the magic words, right? So you're in front of the door. If you don't have the key, you can't enter the castle, right? So, oh my God. So what do I need? What keys can open the castle? What I found out was the cell needs carbohydrates, sugars, to survive, right? For the mitochondria. If I can't give sugar and give them diabetes, I said, okay. So back in the early 90s, there was this dextrin technology that people were playing around with it. There's no drug approval process done yet. So there's no drugs in the market. So we looked at technology and said, hey, what if I use that to deliver to the cells in the skeleton, except the molecule? But inside, I'll stuff it with glutathione. I said, okay, that was a kind of a doozy one. I said, right. But the first, I had to get that molecule get through your skin. Once it goes through your skin, it has to get to the cell. The cell will accept it and the stuff inside is glutathione. So that's when I started working. It took me about 7 years. And we figured all those things out, right? And we had the product ready in 2007. I thought the world is going to be coming to me and tell me, oh my, what a good job you have done. Give it to me and I'll use it from there onwards. Nobody cared about it because they've been burned. If you look at right now, just Google or just put any search engine, glutathione supplementation. There are thousands of companies out there who sells glutathione supplement. There's so much noise on glutathione that people get, oh, I've tried in the past, it didn't work on me. And they've been burned. They have been burned. If you tell me that, hey, I have a brand new vitamin C product in the market today, oh, God, no, please, right? I have plenty of vitamin C products in the market. I don't want another vitamin C product. But until I figured out the science of it, nobody cared about it. And so people were deaf. They didn't want to hear anything to do with me, including the doctors. So then I started my own research, 13 more years of research, trying to figure out everything out about how much to give, how often to give, can I give it long term? What are the effects going to be? So all those things. So if you want to support my work, it's not much. The book is like $15-20. The book is all my work. It's all the stories I get in the first 13 years of my life before I launched the company. The book is all about stories of my patients that actually used the products and came to me crying. I said, oh my God, you changed my life, right? And when you hear a mom taking my 7-year-old kid has never slept for 7 years because she has autism, and within 2 weeks, she slept for the first night, it's not that the daughter slept for the first night, but the mom slept for the first time also. And so it's such a relief and such a blessing that I received. I said, you know what? I want this blessing to happen to every single family in the world today. And so I said, I'm going to do that part. So I'm going to get this thing ready. In the meantime, in my research, what we found out was people's skin was just getting fantastic. I said, what? And so my wife and my sister-in-law and all the friends were calling me and said, hey, give me some of this product. I said, you know what? I'll make you better. So what I did was I took not just the glutathione, I took all the 7-8 different ingredients like CoQ10, carnosine, resveratrol, cycloestragenol, DMA, actually every single thing, all the good thing, squeezed it into the size, put in this technology so I can deliver it to you through your skin. And once again, your skin just opens up inside your skin, inside your cells. And so all of a sudden, I started getting people saying, oh my God, my skin looks so much better. I said, okay, great. I'm going to get a skincare line now next. So for the first 7 years, I didn't sell any skincare products. I just made it for my friends and family. Eventually got to a point where I was making like few hundred bottles every other week. It got to be too expensive. They were paying me my cost, but it was just getting too out of laborious. So my time was getting too saturated. I said, you know what? No, I'm going to make this product. I'm putting it on the website. You'll just buy from there now onwards, right? And then so that went for about a year or two. And then in 2021, we actually launched the product to the public for the very first time. And so we just launched it to the public. It's been out for over a decade and a half. I can guarantee you that part. But is not available to the public until about 2-3 years ago. And now that we have that, the emails I get, the voice message I get on my daily basis from my patients, it just tells me that what I'm doing is making a difference in people's life. And that's why I'm here. I'm talking on this podcast with you because I want to touch every single human being on this planet. And I want them to try it and enjoy it at least for 30 days and see if this makes a difference in your life. Because if it does, all you just need is shut the door. Once you shut the door, the body has the capacity to heal itself. And that's what I want to tell you, that the body is fully equipped to deal with its own problems. You just got to stop bringing more problems to it.
That's what it really is. And listening to this, it was so incredible. Like, Cris, I know we literally, Cris and I, you guys can't see us while Dr. Patel is talking, but we're literally just nodding along because everything he's saying is so incredible and so powerful. And I love, Dr. Patel, that you not only created a wellness product for glutathione that can be used topically, but you also created a skincare line that you can be using on your face. So you can really be getting the best of both worlds. Because if you've ever used glutathione, I don't know. Okay, let me backtrack here because this is where my brain went. Is I get a lot of IV infusions. Like I've had several hundred IV infusions. Yeah, a lot. And a lot of those I've had a glutathione push. And my skin has always looked so incredible for like a few days after the glutathione push. But now I'm wondering is if you're saying that, it breaks down super quickly and it's really the cysteine that's doing it, am I wasting my money on this glutathione push?
The short answer is absolutely yes.
There we go. Oh, I'm sweating. Keep going, Dr. Patel.
Cris is excited.
Unfortunately, I was in the same business making those IV therapies for you guys. So I made a ton of money doing that part. It wasn't driving force. I was telling my doctors back in 2010, I was telling the doctors, I said, Doc, I had this topical version, is much, much better than IVs. The doctor says, no, I make $40 on an IV shot. With your product, I only make $2. No. And so it was financially not viable for the doctors to do topical versions of glutathione. And so that's when I've learned that in order for the consumers to get the best product, I had to do all the research myself and get to the public myself.
I learned something new today, Dr. Patel. This is exciting for me.
The 4 sprays of glutathione or the 2 pumps of the skincare gives you more glutathione than a whole vial full of IV push of glutathione. And when I say the statement, most doctors will tell me, prove it to me, right? Because they don't believe it. They don't believe it for even a single second. Prove it to me. And I just pull up the research. I said, based on the research, your glutathione levels will be out of your system in about 5 to 15 minutes. And in 30 minutes, my glutathione is still there. So guess what? In 30 minutes, I have the best glutathione in the world.
Well, Dr. Patel, you've first not only burst my bubble, but created a new exciting bubble, because now I'm just going to have to go and add it to cart, like go and add oral wellness products to cart, because now I can be using it topically and getting a much better amount of it that actually stays within my system by using it topically.
The benefits are going to fade inside out, right? The benefits are inside out. So if he uses skincare products, the skin is going to, it's going to just be fantastic. You don't have to, you sort of try one set lasts you about 2 months. And in 2 months, it comes with a 100% money back guarantee. If you're in Canada, unfortunately, we don't refund you VATs and your shipping charges, but we do refund you for the products for sure, 100%. But in 2 months, which is going to last you, if you don't see a physical change in your skin, you didn't pay for it. It's on me. And that's what I'm trying to tell you, because most people will tell you they use a high lens camera to show you how brief your skin is. No, you should be able to see with the naked eyes. And with my eyes, because my eyes is bad. My eyes is really, really bad. I do. And so if I can
just put it in your eye. Put it in your eye. Can you do that yet?
I used to do that a long time ago, because I was making eye drops of glutathione as well for my doctors. The doctor passed away, and then nobody else picked up his work. So it's unfortunate, but yes, glutathione eye drops has shown tremendous benefits in cataracts. But again, nobody makes that product anymore, so we don't have this available anymore. Yeah, you cannot put this in the eyes, unfortunately. Yeah. It's not sterile at all, so you should not do that part. But yeah, all I'm saying, people, is it's the simplest thing, right? If you try it, it's expensive. But if you try it, if it works, it's the cheapest thing you've ever done. But if it's expensive, and if you feel like that you just wasted your time and money, no sweat, we offer full refunds.
I like to take a different angle when I'm looking at my health. Is when you're investing in your health, yes, there is going to a cost is going to come with it. But when you take a priority of your health now, you're reducing your risk of deadly diseases later on in life. And it's like, what's more expensive, taking care of your health now or paying for cancer treatment in 15 to 20 years? Is, we have to look at, when we take these proactive steps, we're really setting the stage for a much healthier us in years to come.
Absolutely. And that's what you're going to ask me about my dad's story, because that's a story that comes into my mind right now.
I've been waiting for this story. So let's hear. Awesome. I need to hear about your dad. Right.
Let's hear the story, because that is going to be the ultimate dagger for every audience out there, right? So my dad, at the age of 78, had a mild infarction, right? Heart attack. The arteries completely clogged up. Had type 2 diabetes for almost 35 plus years. Had arthritis, blood pressure, autoimmune conditions, right? All those things. If you see a person like that, what are the chances that person is climbing Kilimanjaros or Mount Everest, or enjoying life, or doing whatever he wants to do in life? None. Nothing. Zero. Right? About the same time, I made the discovery of glutathione. And of course, when you cannot find patients, you find your family members. My dad was actually patient number 1. He was my patient number 1. My patient number 2 was my PhD on staff that worked with me for all these years. And I didn't have a research partner with me. So Dr. Tran, who's with me, for all these years. He was my research partner, PhD. And so he was our patient number 2. So anyways, patient number 1, in the age of 78, started taking glutathione. Nothing came about it. It's a little sticky, but the sugar molecule is sticky on your skin. Rub it in. So don't worry, just rub it in and it will dry up. And then it has a little sulfur odor to it. My dad did not bother him, so it was fine. Use it twice a day, every day. And about 3 or 4 years later, we didn't think much about it. I thought he was just, just going the motion. Think much about it. And I told Dad, my dad didn't want to take any medication whatsoever. So when we came in from the hospital, put a stent in there. The doctor said he could take statin drugs and cholesterol pills and diabetes, all the pills, right? My dad says, I don't take any pills. I said, Dad, you don't have to take cholesterol pills if you don't want to, because you had no cholesterol issue. Your infarction was something else. We don't know what it is, but it was not because of cholesterol issues. So you don't have to take cholesterol pills if you don't want to. So he decided not to take cholesterol pills. He had to take a blood thinner because there was a stent put in there. So they had to take a blood thinner for about 3 months, but that's all he took. And then he stopped taking the blood thinner also. So he wasn't on any medications. Glutathione. About 3 or 4 years later, I go to him to see. I was just sitting there and watching him eat, and he was just pounding on carbs and sugars. And I talked to my brother's wife, because he was living with my brother. I said, what's going on? I said, oh, he's been enjoying life. I said, what do you mean? I said, yeah, his sugar's under control. His sugar hasn't risen for a couple of years now. I said, what? I said, okay. I said, I don't believe you. So I went to his portal and checked out his blood test, and yeah, his sugar levels have been absolutely normal. I said, shit, I don't tell my dad that your sugar, don't go diabetic, otherwise he'll just go crazy on everything, right? So I didn't tell him that, but just tell him that, hey, Dad, I think you should at least walk half an hour every single day. I said, half an hour? Look at my phone. He shows me his phone. He would give an iPhone at that time, right? So on his phone, he looked at his phone. I said, look at this phone. He was walking 6 miles per day every single day. I said, what? I said, yeah. I said, there's nothing else to do, so I just walk all day long. And then I do gardening in the backyard and grow some plants and vegetables and things like that. And he walks and just having a blast of his life. He's already 82. And then he comes to me and said, hey, you know what? I had this arthritis for almost 30, 40 years. So I'm walking a little wonky right now, because my knees are like a little deformed, right? So he walks a little funny. His hips are not feeling perfectly fine. So I said, okay. But I heard that the knee replacement thing works great. I said, Dad, I don't know about this one, right? So went to the doctor. Doctor goes, oh my God, you're bone to bone. You're completely deformed and you have no pain. I said, no, I don't have any pain. It's just uncomfortable. I said, I've never seen that before, right? There's no inflammation. Arthritis, but no inflammation, so no pain. So the doctor says, both the knees needs to be replaced. So Dad goes, great, do it. Then he goes, no, we can only do one knee at a time. We can't do both. You're already 83 years old now. You can't do both knees at the same time. And he goes, no, I think it was 84. I'm sorry, it was 84 already. I said, if you don't do knees at the same time, there's no way. The pain is so much I hear, I'll never come back with a second knee. So he convinced the doctor to do both the knees at the same time. So I come home, doctor's appointment, and he comes to his house and tells all his friends that, yeah, I'm getting knee replacement surgeries done. I'm doing both the knees at the same time. And you see all his friends and everybody, family say, what? That's why I send you with your son, so at least he will bring some sense in you to do one knee at a time. Otherwise, you'll be completely immobile, all those things. I said, Dad, don't worry about them. Just, if you want to do both the knees, we'll do both the knees, right? The doctor says, brace yourself. It's going to take 6 months for recovery, right? Brace yourself. So I said, great. But to reduce the recovery time and feel good, exercise, you get your quads, everything ready. So I got him a bicycle. So I started doing bicycle 30 minutes a day, every single day before the knee surgery. So because he couldn't walk, he can do the bicycle, right? Because it's independent of knees. So he didn't put any pressure on his knees. So it was fine. He did that part. Both the knee replacement surgeries were done. Came home within a day and a half. 36 hours later, he was already walking. Came home from the hospital, started doing physical therapy. And in 3 months later, he was in India. Three and a half months later, he was in India traveling. Right? So, and all these years, from the 78th after his infarction till the knee replacement surgery is done, he was traveling the world every single year, He goes to India. We have a place in Africa. He goes to Africa, comes back over here. He's gone for 3 or 4 months. Keep in mind, my mom passed away 25 plus years ago, so he's single. He just picks up his bags. I just buy his tickets, and he's gone on his own. He figures everything out: where to eat, where to live. He figures everything out on his own, right? He doesn't have to worry about anything. He has a phone with him. He has a world plan. He just calls anybody and everybody he wants to calls and just gets his stuff done. So all this time goes around. He's enjoying life. Pandemic comes around. The whole world is shut down. I says, no, I got to go. So he picks up his bags and goes to India, goes to Africa. Though India is shut down, locked down. The whole world is locked down. The flights are still going up and down, but the country's locked down. So he just says, hey, I'm 85 years old and I have to go. This is my last leg. He just said, these were the last legs. He keeps on traveling. Keep in mind, he was living his life, right? 89 years old, which was last year. In India, again, traveling, enjoying life. He was at the ocean, walking down, picks up some street food. Street foods, he gets stomach flu, he starts getting diarrhea for about a couple of days. And then they get dehydrated. And the next morning, he goes to the shower and boom, falls down. Breaks his skull, started bleeding internally, couldn't figure out. He was talking to us like normally. A day later, he was gone. He passed away within a day, right? So here's the thing that what happened to him the last couple of hours. He said, hey, Dad, don't worry. Look at me. I look great. I'm talking. There's no memory loss, nothing whatsoever. I called one of my friends who's a neurosurgeon for the NFL. I called him up. I said, hey, my dad's just fell down, broke his skull. It's some hemorrhaging, bleeding going on. I said, what hospital? He did something that was a neurosurgeon went to see him in India. Saw him within 2 hours. I said, hey, he has some bleeding going on. If he can survive the next 3 or 4 days, he should be able to come back to the United States, no problem whatsoever. I said, great. So then he says, see, I told you I'll be fine. Don't worry about me, right? He calls the whole family, talks to everybody, he FaceTimes everybody. I say, hey, okay, time for me to go to sleep. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Puts his phones down, goes to sleep, never wakes up again. The moral is, at the age of 78, when his whole world was shut down, what is the chance for him to even live, right? Survive. And from survival, he went to living his best year of his life, the last 10 years, until the age of 89. If he had not fallen down, God knows how long he would have lived. Because at the age of 89, he was down to maybe 2 medications, few vitamins, and a healthy diet. And that's all he took.
Wow. And at the age of 78, when most people are given that diagnosis of they have a stent put in, they have diabetes, they have this, they have that, they're on a laundry list of medications and they're not living their best life. They're not traveling. They're sedentary. They really aren't living at all. They're just surviving at this point. And to be able to hear your father's story, how he was like, I'm not going to accept that, and was able to then get another decade of his best years is such an incredible story.
And that's a yes, this glutathione. That's the only thing we added in the last 10 years of his life. And I mean, we went to Yosemite National Park and he came with us hiking. We went to any vacation we go, anywhere, doesn't really matter. He always made sure that I hope you book my ticket too. I said, absolutely, we're going to take you. Right? So anywhere we went, he was there with us.
Mm-hmm. That's incredible. Right? So the story is you're never too young to take control of your health. So if you're listening and you are in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, 70s and above, don't think that you're hopeless just because you're like, oh, I'm 48, so I'm not 30 anymore. I can't go and start this. It's never too late to take care of your health.
It's never too late. If you're 30 and 40s, this is a time to have a best year so you don't get those diagnoses later on. If you only have the diagnosis, I can at least give you the best years of your life. I will not be able to get you diseases, but I can get you the best years of your life. All you got to do is just try it for 30 to 60 days. And if it changes your life, I'll be more happy than you are, because this is my life's goal. I want to touch every human being on this planet with this technology, and I want to make sure that it gives me utter joy to see you thriving and succeeding in life, the more than you feel it.
because this, like you said, Dr. Patel, this truly is your life's work. You've been studying this and doing this for decades upon decades, and you went into this field so people can feel better, not just manage their symptoms. And I think you've done just that. So for people that want to learn more about your work, learn more about the products that you offer, whether it's your wellness products, your skincare, where can they go for that?
The two websites we have is orowellness.com, AURO wellness.com. The second one is oroskincare.com, AURO skincare. Try the products, get the book, read. Reading is inspiring. At least it will give you hope that, hey, you're not alone. And if you are suffering, there's a story about a horse that was on his way out of racing, and he was hired to just fill up the gaps in the thing. And so the owner comes to me and says, hey, my horse is just going to race, but she's not strong enough to finish the race, and I just wanted to be strong enough. So about a couple of months before the race, we put her on glutathione, and forgetting finishing the race, she came in number one. Oh my God! Of course, nobody would ever get her back in the race again because she's already a 4 or 5 year old pony. So the time was up. But stories like these, it just tells you that your body has the capacity to heal itself. We have no medications in the world that's going to do that for you. The body's going to do it for you yourself. Just close the door.
I love it. Dr. Patel, thank you so much for coming on today. I went and put all of your information in the show notes. So if you guys want to learn more, his Instagram, his website, his book, all of that is linked there. This was a great talk. And as always, go back, listen to this again, because you're going to get some more nuggets every time. So just to summarize it, remember, you're never too old to take control of your health. You just have to shut the door.
And my last urge for all the listeners, if you like this podcast, please, please, please share with your friends and family and anybody that you care about, because it's not about me. It's about what Katie and Cris are doing. They're trying to bring this information out to the rest of the world. Please help support them and to get this message out.
Like we said, Dr. Patel, we're new best friends. You got us now. So thank you so much for coming on. This was such a pleasure. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next week on another episode of the Clear Skin Chronicles.